No, you cannot. I started talking to Marvel about developing something else. I remember Kevin saying to me, like, we really should think about an actual Agatha show. And I was like, where do I sign for that job? We had early conversations about, what could that be? And maybe it's this property, and maybe it's this property. And everything that I pitched included a storyline about Agatha. And continuing the story of Agatha and getting to know her more was immediately an imperative for us as creatives.
We got it.
The character is so deep and heartfelt and dangerous.
The whole thing made total sense to me, and I was just so excited and thrilled. There would be nothing more delicious to Agatha Harkness than to be in a spin-off. To be playing a witch in the MCU is amazing.
I love you guys so much.
Love you, Catherine.
Love you back.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. Marvel dropped a potato quality version of their Agatha Darkhold Diaries teaser trailer. There's a bunch of Scarlet Witch stuff going on during this because it is a WandaVision spinoff, and Scarlet Witch is coming back in the MCU, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the episodes. I will do episode videos for it when it does release next year on Halloween. The reason why Marvel released this is because it's actually part of the Blu-ray for WandaVision, which they're releasing this week. I'll give away a couple of copies. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber, and just let me know what you want them to do with Scarlet Witch in the future of the MCU. I know a lot of you are hoping for some Scarlet Witch X-Men crossovers, like just cross her over with Magneto, like try to tie these characters together with like MCU version of Quicksilver in some way, like bring Evan Peters back. They got all the pieces there, like it's all ready to go.
God, you look like Aaron Taylor Johnson right now.
I literally just did a WandaVision Quicksilver deleted scene video explaining what happened to him after the events of WandaVision, so I'll link it at the end of this. But there's a whole bunch of new footage here in this teaser trailer. They haven't finished the special effects yet because it doesn't come out till next year. That's why it looks a little bit weird. The whole idea is this is a much darker spin, like a much darker show, just because it's all about witches, magic in the MCU, so it is very appropriate that they're releasing it around Halloween next year. Outside of the brand new footage, most of the details that we have about the series actually comes from Patti LuPone, who you see in some of the footage here. Funny enough, because she totally doesn't give a crap about her NDA contract, so thank you to her for revealing all this information she's not supposed to reveal. She's actually playing Lily Calderwood, a descendant of the actual Cagliostro inside the MCU, who's tasked with keeping the book of Cagliostro that they featured in the first Doctor Strange movie.
Please tell me you're not Cagliostro.
The name's Obang, librarian for the books of Cagliostro.
She's meant to be a descendant of the first Baron Mordo, not the main Baron Mordo that we see in the Doctor Strange movies, but his ancestor. The book she's tasked with keeping in the comics is actually the book that Caecilius used to contact Dormammu and reach the Dark Dimension. It's also the same book that Doctor Strange is reading from here when he's using the Time Stone. As you would expect, because it takes place mostly in Westview when they're not traveling to other dimensions, a lot of the characters from WandaVision are coming back. There are a lot of familiar faces inside the teaser trailer, and yes, they do all remember what happened with the Hex and Scarlet Witch, like they remember that they were all held hostage for a while. But just starting with the big stuff during this, so there's footage of them all across Westview, like you see a bunch of different scenes with them in people's homes across Westview. But it's meant to pick up after Agatha breaks Scarlet Witch's spell, and the reason why she breaks the spell is because of her disappearance at the end of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. Basically, her chaos magic that was keeping Agatha trapped inside her sitcom reality breaks.
You have no idea what you've unleashed. You're gonna need me.
When Agatha told Scarlet Witch, you're going to need me for what's coming, you don't have any idea what you've unleashed, she's talking about the threat that's coming during the events of the Agatha Coven of Chaos series, and it's going to be the Salem 7 Coven from the comics. There was actually a deleted scene that sort of explains what her prison is like at the end of that series.
Are you injured?
No, I'm not handsome, but I could always use some mouth-to-mouth.
The funny thing about that, the reason why she gets a laugh track is because she's literally trapped in a sitcom reality in that sitcom persona, but only she can hear the laugh track. So that's why none of the other FBI agents here think that it's weird, like nobody's commenting that there is a laugh track. It's meant to be kind of the same thing she did to Scarlet Witch during the WandaVision series when she was gaslighting her. Like Scarlet Witch started believing that she was in a sitcom, listening to people off camera talking to her, like, you're not supposed to be able to talk to me. That was both of them using their magic to manipulate reality in that way. But the whole idea is that Scarlet Witch's disappearance at the end of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is what sets the plot off. We don't have a full synopsis yet, but we do know that Joe Locke is playing Scarlet Witch's son, Billy, in adult form, like he'll become a version of Wiccan. They're changing a little of Wiccan's comic book origin. In the comics, obviously Scarlet Witch gave birth to her 2 children with Vision, but they were revealed to be soul shards of Mephisto who eventually reabsorbed them. In the MCU, Billy and Tommy were created by Scarlet Witch using her chaos magic while inside the Hex, and after she brought the Hex down, they disappeared. Now in the comics, much later, there's a very twisty explanation for how Billy and Tommy come back. The way they explain them coming back, still being Scarlet Witch's children, is that their souls are reincarnated into the bodies of Billy Kaplan and Tommy in different families in different parts of the United States. So they eventually join the Young Avengers. They learn that they're related, like, oh, we're brothers, and they learn that Scarlet Witch is their true mother. That all played out during the Young Avengers Children's Crusade comic book. The way they're changing that reincarnation storyline in the MCU is supposedly saying that Billy's soul is reincarnated into a recently deceased teenager's body who just looks like Joe Locke. So that's why he winds up being older and why he doesn't look like Scarlet Witch. He continues to have all the same powers that he had before. He's meant to have about the same abilities as Scarlet Witch, but because his power levels are off the charts, another coven of witches wants to use him to their own ends. I don't know if they're trying to use him to bring their master into the main MCU dimension or something similar. Either way, they want him. Post all the Mephisto memes. I can't believe we're all the way back at this Mephisto stuff again. During this series, Agatha, who's going to be more of an anti-hero as opposed to the villain that she was during WandaVision, although I would argue that Scarlet Witch was doing stuff that was just as bad, so they were both doing a lot of shady stuff. But Agatha tries to work against this rogue coven, trying to save Billy from the other witches, led by Aubrey Plaza, who's playing Rio Vidal. She's not from the comics, they just created her for the show. This is her just off-screen talking to Agatha. During the series, she's meant to be one of the most powerful magic users and one of the oldest people in the MCU, next to God of Stories Loki, so she's meant to be really, really powerful. Patti LuPone, the other witches, are part of her coven. This place where they're all walking is really important. In the MCU, it's going to be the version of the Witch's Road, which is a place where Scarlet Witch's body went during the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness ending. It's a big place in the comics that only witches can go. It's kind of like a holy place for them. They kind of explained this during the Moon Knight series about how when you die, your consciousness travels to other dimensions based on your belief system. The Witch's Road is that place for Scarlet Witch. This flash here was her chaos magic saving her body acting on instinct, transporting her consciousness to this alternate dimension. The funny thing though, zoom and enhance, you can actually see Deborah Jo Rupp's Mrs. Hart character is with them, so for whatever reason, who knows, she follows them into the Witch's Road. Like, oh, let's just take a trip into this alternate dimension, just follow the yellow brick road, so to speak. Zoom and enhance again though, notice that they're all barefoot. The reason why they're not wearing shoes is because they took them off as a sign of respect when they're in this alternate dimension. Like I said, it's meant to be a holy place for witch breed and magic users. But even though Scarlet Witch's soul is meant to be in this place and she's an important part of the plot, I don't expect a ton of Elizabeth Olsen cameos during the series. I think the idea is that Joe Locke's Wiccan learns that she's still alive, and at the end of the series, will just come up with a plan to save her soul and bring her back to the main MCU dimension. I don't expect her to come back for real until Avengers 5, but they might do some sort of spin-off with adult Wiccan, like a Children's Crusade type of storyline, and they might address her coming back during that. The only other place I know right now that Wiccan would come back for would be for Young Avengers that they teased at the end of the Marvels movie with Miss Marvel and Kate Bishop. Like, he and Tommy would come back for that. The producer talking during this here is Jack Schaefer. She's the showrunner. She was also the showrunner on WandaVision. She's got 3 Marvel projects on her contract. WandaVision and this Agatha show are the first 2, so the 3rd project might be a Scarlet Witch movie or like another spin-off with adult Wiccan. There has been talk about them doing a Scarlet Witch movie, but we'll see if that winds up happening. I knew they had plans for Scarlet Witch in the future of the MCU, a lot of X-Men related plans too. We will see Elizabeth Olsen come back during What If Season 2 though. She'll be voicing her character during those episodes. She was featured during the trailer. It's sort of like a Merlin ancient version of the character. I think that she appears during the 1602 episodes. Looking at the footage, you notice a couple other details here too, like the working title of the show on the slates here is My Pretty, just making more puns about witches, luring people into their gingerbread houses. Notice Agatha has several costumes during the series. This is similar to her 80s outfit from the 80s episode. Not sure who the dead body is though. You can let me know in the comments, like, why is Agatha in the morgue here? Who died? Even though the show's meant to be its own thing, they're kind of continuing some of the themes of the WandaVision show. Like, she'll have a couple songs during the series like Agatha All Along. This is her more traditional costume. Notice she's wearing her brooch again that she wore all through WandaVision. I think the three figures are a representation of the Hecate, the Greek goddess of witchcraft, which has three different forms: the maiden, the mother, and the crone. It's meant to be a representation of eternal youth and magic. It might also be a representation of the three Greek fates, and it might also be a reference to the Wiccan rule of three. The rule of three, also called the threefold law or the law of return, is a religious tenet held by Wiccans, neo-pagans, and occultists that just states that whatever energy a person puts out into the world, whether it be positive or negative, will be returned to that person 3 times. There's a whole bunch of footage going on here, so if there's any questions you have or any Easter eggs you noticed that I didn't talk about in the video, just write them below in the comments. We'll get a much more formal trailer the next couple of months. Congratulations, Envoy Eli and Brad1980. You're the giveaway winners from my last big Marvel video. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your contact details. Everyone click here for that WandaVision Quicksilver deleted scene and alternate ending, and click here for my Loki Season 2 alternate ending with a totally different Beyonder version of Loki. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.